This is Serge Benhayon, and this is Ryuho Okawa. These two men have one major thing in common. They have arguably the greatest job in the world. Arguably. I don't really know how to describe what their job is, other than to say they're gods. Not to you and I, but to their thousands of followers who are essentially paying to be told when to sleep, when to wake, what to eat, and yeah, other stuff. Some followers would even die for these men. But how exactly did these men become divine beings? Did they just wake up one day and say, "I'm God"? Well, yeah, that's pretty much what they did. In 1986, Mr. Okawa was working on Wall Street at the ripe young age of 30, when one day he literally realized he was a god. But not just any god, he was the god of all gods, El Cantare. He alleges he's been reincarnated over the years as godly figures such as Odin, Osiris, and many more, with the latest incarnation being himself. Today, he leads a cult/pyramid scheme/religion called Happy Science, where his self-proclaimed 12 million followers, which is actually more like 30,000, continue to believe insane origin stories like Satan being a half-cat, half-man army general who hunted dinosaurs to extinction. And yes, there's an entire anime series that depicts all of this. But I prefer Serge's story, because he, along with this guy, who I talk about later, helped me realize what the greatest job in the world actually is. In 1999, Serge Benhayon was a bankrupt tennis coach before he had an energetic impress. I don't know what that is exactly, but seeing as though it happened on the toilet, it kinda sounds like he took a gigantic whatever it is. It's what made him realize he too was a god. Now, 2 decades later, Serge leads the cult called Universal Medicine, and provides unaccredited healing services such as esoteric breast massage, ovarian readings, and chakra puncture.
That feels wrong, I don't like that.
Me neither, bro. But some people just, I don't know. How do these men convince people that they're reincarnated gods, and not schizophrenic predators? I mean, sure, these men may be charismatic, and I realize they mostly target the lonely and vulnerable, but how the f*** do you convince people that carrots are as bad as heroin? I'm not joking. You can look this up. How?
His name is Robert Paulson.
His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson.
You know when you think to yourself, well, if everyone else is doing it, I should probably do it too. This is conformity.
This is Sparta!
And that was not relevant at all. But what is relevant are the Asch conformity experiments. In the 1950s, a psychologist named Solomon Asch conducted a series of experiments that explored the effects of social pressures on conformity. He asked questions to groups of 6 students, 5 of whom were actors, and told them to give the same wrong answer in the hopes of peer pressuring the real participant. Look, it doesn't matter. Basically, what the Asch conformity experiments concluded was that people conform for 2 main reasons.
Gentlemen, welcome to Fight Club.
1, they want to fit in with the group.
You know what? I'm worried I'll have a bad trip.
Oh, no, you won't. You won't. Trust me.
And 2, they believe the group knows better than they do. And the problem with that is, if you're always mindlessly compliant, you become a yes man, or a yes woman. Someone who just agrees with everything and ignores their own thoughts. If this sounds like you, stop. Or you might end up in a cult too. You're just people pleasing, agreeing without thinking. You do what they do, you talk how they talk, and eventually, you think how they think. Slowly losing your sense of identity. At first, you might not go along with everything.
Please, Christian. This is feeling really wrong. We need to leave.
But soon enough, you just do whatever the group tells you, until you are no longer an individual. You are part of the collective. What I'm trying to say is, if you don't think for yourself, then someone might already be thinking for you. And if you want to know how dark that can get, just look up the Branch Davidians of Waco, where a 51-day siege led to the death of 76 cult members. Or there's the Jonestown mass suicide, where 918 people died from cyanide after following the teachings of their preacher Jim Jones. And then, of course, the Manson family murders. Like I said, it's dark. And now, these cults are spreading online.
QAnon?
Satanic rituals? Drinking children's blood? Adrenochrome?
Where did they come from?
QAnon is the single greatest information operation in the history of humanity.
Which finally brings us here, to a certain individual I alluded to before, who's been doing the rounds on social media, shilling his own pyramid scheme to his cult-like following. His ignorant, misogynistic, and polarizing views are making him viral and leading countless men to idolize him. You've probably heard of him by now, and if you haven't, you're about to. His name is Andrew Tate.
Only a cat-owning bitch would complain to the police.
I find myself super funny. But if you're my friend, you just can't be a pussy.
And the number one way you're going to destroy racism, if you really want to destroy it, is to stop talking about it.
Andrew Tate is everywhere. He's an ex-professional kickboxer turned alleged woman beater, scammer, human trafficker, and who knows what the f*** else. I honestly don't know how much of that is true, but I just did what he told me to.
Google it!
So I did. And it turns out he's got these pyramid schemes called Hustlers University and the War Room.
I'm trying to make people rich, and I'm trying to make people think the same way I think, so that we can all work together to try our very best to resist the global enslavement of humankind. This is why Hustlers University exists. This is why the War Room exists. This is my rebellion against the machine. Do you understand?
You need to start preparing for the future, because the future is based on enslavement. It's based on removing your freedoms under the guise of safety to keep you believing the lies and paying taxes and being a good slave until you die.
Let me summarize real quick. If you don't have a membership in his pyramid scheme, then you'll be a slave to the government and the wealthy elite forever. Because he is the only one that can make everyone rich. So who's he targeting? Anyone that's dumb enough to listen, to be honest. His charismatic, fast-talking, overtly arrogant demeanor seems to be a draw card for many men.
Men and women are not equal, we'll talk about that in a second. Every single book you can read from history says that females who are promiscuous should either be stoned to death or at least cast out from society. Whereas a man, if he sleeps with a bunch of chicks, doesn't matter, who cares?
If you listen to enough of his bullshit sound bites, you realize that he doesn't live in the same reality as you and I. His truth is the only truth. And that's pretty much how a cult leader controls his followers. I'm not saying he doesn't speak the truth at all.
I need dick.
But I am saying that he makes a lot of shit up that is verifiably untrue.
You know who's in charge of the European Union?
I do not.
Nobody does. That's the exact point. The laws are proposed by a committee. Who's on the committee? Nobody knows. Are they elected? No.
With all that aside, he is a master at what he does. Talk shit, get views, and promote his pyramid scheme. Everywhere. And though I don't agree with him on many things, I guess I can respect the hustle. Hate him or love him, who am I to say what's wrong or right? He's just another character on this earth. But the point I want to make is this. We humans survive by conforming to our community. It allowed us to work together, to trust each other, and to advance to where we are today. So conformity has undoubtedly been ingrained in our DNA, and honestly, it's not always a bad thing. But with every choice you do make, do your own research, put some thought into it, or sign up for Andrew Tate's War Room right now. I'm just kidding, please don't. Instead, build an identity that you know is yours, and not some random mix of whoever you idolize. Otherwise, one day, you might end up not really being you. And really, that's the greatest job in the world. Thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe to save the carrots.
Are you being serious?
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.